Welcome to the Scandalous Podcast. I'm your host, Scandalous. Her music reminds me of the divine feminine, and it makes me feel divinely feminine. My first introduction to her was watching her wail away on stage, flowing and playing and performing in a wild and wonderful way, while playing keyboard for her brother on stage, Amigo the Devil. Except now she's releasing songs on her own, launching her career, and choosing who she's going to be as an artist. Welcome to the Scandalous Podcast, Catacombs. How are you doing?
Thank you. I love that intro. I'm
I
doing
do too.
well.
I was listening in my announcer voice and I was like, ooh.
Ooh.
I know. I really got into it when I was saying, I was like, ooh, that's fun. I like it.
Yeah, totally.
That
Oh,
was good.
I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm excited we finally got to do it.
I know. I love it. There you go. We're girls who follow through with plans. Yay.
Yeah, eventually.
So you're in London right now. I'm super nosy. What are you in London for?
I am here. I'm actually visiting my partner. It's a bit of a vacation, for sure.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, I'm super nosy. How long have you guys been together?
Um, I mean, the date is still kind of, we don't know exactly when to consider it, but I'd say
Got
about
it.
7, 8 months.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
It genuinely has been amazing.
Nice.
It's been very grounding in certain ways, whereas other relationships I feel have pulled me away from what I'm doing. This is somehow makes it easier to dedicate time to things that I'm doing when I actually am doing them.
I love that. So
That's
he's like grounding you on your purpose instead of pulling you away from it.
yeah.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love that.
Happy.
That's great. So, what are you guys doing in London? I've actually never been to London. So, are there any cool spots there?
There are for sure. I we just got back from Morecambe where they had the album cover, the Black Sabbath album cover, the
Cool.
graves on the cover are there.
Yeah.
So we went to go look at that and some old chapels, which it's so funny because everything here has on the date cards, you see something dated like 956 and you're like, there's something wrong here. There's only 3 digits and there's a one missing.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, I thought you were going to say I thought your mic drop was going to be like 1525 or something like that, like the 1500s. That's
Right.
like the biggest mic drop I can think of. And you're saying like 925.
Insane. My brain doesn't even compute that number. I'm like, that's an actual age. That's not a date, you know?
Yeah, that's
Ugh.
crazy.
This
It
is
really is.
900 years old. That's not, I mean,
That's
not from
wild.
now. Like when
Yeah,
when it was made, it was only everything had only been 900 years.
for
Unless,
sure.
yeah.
I know. And we both know each other from Austin. So, like, everything in Austin, if it's like from the 50s or the 60s, they're like, nope, too old.
Yeah,
Barn
yeah.
house, barn house.
50s, 60s is a joke, apparently.
Oh,
So,
yeah, apparently. There you go. So, like I said, we do know each other from Austin shows. Are you from Austin originally?
no, I am from Miami originally.
No way.
Miami, Florida.
Cool. Tell me about that.
Oof. Miami is
Woof.
it's a wild place to grow up, to be honest.
Yeah.
You grow up very quickly. There's a lot of, no matter what scene you're into, you kind of always get sucked into what people would consider stereotypical Miami.
Hmm.
Like I would go from any show I went to, like whether it was a rock show, like underground Latin salsa, a punk show at a squat house, whatever it was, you'd always end up at the club, prancing
That's
around to like
funny. Yeah.
mainstream bops. And it's just, you kind of can't escape it. There's always this mainstream side to life that is shoved in your face, and it ends up being a lot of late nights, a lot of experimenting of all kinds. Um, and yeah, it was beautiful. It's a beautiful place, but I don't think I could live there anymore. It's definitely
Yeah.
changed a lot in the past decades.
For sure. I
Yeah.
think about myself when I was growing up, and like our jokes are, you know, our parents thought we were spending the night at each other's houses.
Oh yeah.
And actually, so I went to high school in Amarillo,
Okay.
and yeah, I'm from Dallas, but my mom moved me to Amarillo for high school because that's where my family was. And it's a great story. It's really funny. My best friend and I would always say we're spending the night at each other's houses. And I was dating some guy at Texas Tech in Lubbock. So my best friend would sneak out of the house. I'd pick her up in the alley. We'd drive an hour and a half away to Lubbock. We'd get there around 2 a.m. and party with college kids till like 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Pass out, sleep, wake up at 9, drive back to Amarillo, like an hour and a half away, and then go back to our houses. And our parents never knew. And we did that for like a whole summer when we were like 17. So it was just like very
Yeah.
funny. But it's funny to me, like my definition of like that silly craziness is like in some dude's basement that we had like no business being in. And yours was probably like out on a boat in the ocean.
I mean, I remember like a lot of nights where first of all, my mom did not, she was very lenient. She was kind of just like, you have my trust until you lose it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember most nights, I mean, first of all my friends wanted to sleep at my house because she was the one who didn't care, didn't have rules. And I got to the point eventually where I started lying and saying I'm grounded because I didn't want to go out. And they're like, come on, we know you're not grounded. But just so many nights going to shows and then going to the club, and we would put our uniforms, because we had uniform for school, and we'd put our uniforms in the trunk of my car and we would go straight from the club, sometimes still on ecstasy or whatever we had taken, and go straight to school.
That's so funny.
And just like pass out on the beach for an hour. When the sun came up, we'd wake up, get dressed in like the showers and bathrooms and head to school. And I mean,
Yeah.
it was kind of just a nonstop party for 3 months. And then I started tapping out of things because I got bored of it.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure. That's such a Netflix style existence.
I mean, it was also very, at times it was very lonely, like very sad. She would travel a lot. So I was
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just alone in the apartment for
Yeah.
like a month or two at a time, to the point where I actually homeschooled my junior and senior year, because it felt too lonely, and she was leaving for 3 months to Spain
Mm-hmm.
to visit her family. That's where she's from.
Yeah.
And I just started homeschooling because I wanted to go with her. And then shortly after, met a guy, not met a guy, we were friends in middle school. I went to go visit him in Paraguay. And then I just ended up staying. I mean, I would just go back there every month for like 3 weeks at a time.
Wow.
And then I got
I'm really starting to understand where your music comes from.
it was a lot of movement. It was a lot of movement. It was a lot of exposure at a young age. It was a lot of like deep loneliness and exploration and needing to comfort myself, which is weird considering I had an amazing mother who loves me deeply and cared for me really well, you know?
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
she just trusted me a little too much, a little too soon.
Well, we have a little bit of a similar situation with that. Like, I homeschooled for a little bit. Like, I was just always like weird and ostracized. So I homeschooled for a little bit, but I also had no rules.
Yeah.
And I also like my mom, like I was so bullied, my mom thought I was like gonna kill myself. So she just like wouldn't mind like if I had someone to hang out with, she'd just be like, go, 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 because she just like wanted me to have friends,
Yeah.
So she super duper trusted me. It was the same way. Like I had no rules,
Right.
but sometimes like my mom would call my best friend's mom and they would catch up and then my best friend would get grounded because she didn't know any of what we were doing. My mom was like, "Oh yeah, the girls da da da," and she was like, "What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That's crazy." But even having that travel experience,
Yeah.
like that's like the life experience of like a 27-year-old of like
I mean,
having
it
a boy
started
you
early.
visit overseas
Yeah.
and you go, "Say what? Oh my god." Huh.
It started earlier because my dad moved away when I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
we moved to Greece when I was 4, so my mom would kind of just ship my brother and I off, like she would just ship us off to Greece, and then Danny started going to summer camp, an all boys summer camp, and the equivalent of that for women was like he would get to zip line and play like capture the flag and do all these cool things, and the women's
Yeah.
equivalent was like sewing, cooking, knitting, and I was like, fuck no. Like there's
That's
no way.
awful. That's
I was
terrible.
like, there's no way, you can't pay me enough. So I kept going to Greece, but by myself,
Yeah.
for a lot of summers. And just that travel was terrifying. Like being 6, 7 on a plane
Mm-hmm.
alone to Greece with a connection in Frankfurt where sometimes like flights would get delayed or weather would, I'd have to stay there overnight, and it's
Yeah.
terrifying. Like terrifying. So I got used to it very, very young, and it wasn't as romantic when I was young. In my
Yeah.
teens, it definitely is something that I appreciate, and it did contribute a lot to who I am as a person and my art and everything, and a lot of writing. Some of the songs on the EP I actually started writing when I was 16, 17 in Greece visiting my dad, feeling kind of lonely. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, so it is
Mm-hmm.
nice, but the further you go back, the more terrifying it kind of felt. And then I kind of just got used to it. And now it's like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay, so one of my favorite things in the world is zip lining. So next time you're in town, let's go zip line off of Lake Travis just for kicks.
Isn't there like an adventure park, like an eco park, like some sort of eco adventure park? Yeah,
I've
in
done it, so I don't know. I've zip lined off of Lake Travis before.
yeah.
So they probably have like some new fun thing, but I don't know, that made me mad at your brother. And I was like, hey, it's like, that's not fair. Next time
Yeah,
you're in town, let's go zip line, girl. Like, let's go do it.
let's do it.
That's so
Absolutely.
unfair. So, I went to Europe being in music as long as I've been in music. And I've worked by my, sorry, I have something where I'm like, I'm so emotional. I'm like, pulling something out. It's like something in my eyes about your
Crying for my
story.
childhood because I
I know,
couldn't.
right? Oh. Exactly. Um, uh, Being in music, when I would travel, I would just like really just like hang out in New York and LA, and every time, and I've been self-employed for like a decade now. And I would always just like go to shows and go to New York and go to LA and just like hang out there. And then a couple years ago, I was like, hey, idiot, love yourself. Fuck these bands. Take yourself to Europe. And I was like, yeah. So I booked no festivals and I just took myself to Europe for like 6 weeks.
Amazing.
And it was incredible. And I did like um, a couple weeks in France, a couple weeks in Italy, Greece, and Germany. And then I went back to Paris. I would love to live in Paris, but
Yeah.
kind of what you were talking about, I remember. So, Greece, I'm super into history and I'm super into like Renaissance art. Like, I'm obsessed with it. And I think about it and it makes me happy. And I look at it all the time. And I very much like live in that. And it would, and definitely like the gods and the goddesses, it's always been my dream to, you know, be in Greece and like be at the Aegean Sea and the Black Sea and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I went there, and yes, it was kind of towards the end of my trip, so that probably had a lot to do with it.
Mhm.
But I don't know why, and it's just kind of reminded me of how I felt. For it to have been my dream my whole life to have gone to Greece and to have been there the whole time, it was very eerie to me how far away I was. Because, and like even, there's France and then there's Italy and then there's Greece over here. So, like, yes, technically, directionally, or geographically, you are farther away. But I just remember being really creeped out a little bit, which I don't know if this is weird, about how far I was away from home. And it kind of like weirded me out a little bit. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
It's it almost feels like how when you are you're on the beach and you're standing out looking at the ocean, it feels liberating because there's so much ahead of you. For some reason, Greece definitely feels like you're on the other side of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get the same feeling looking at the ocean here or in Spain or anywhere else where it's just ocean, it's liberating, it's this, but Greece feels. Like it feels so vast that it
Yeah.
really does feel like you are very much alone besides the people directly around you. Like
This is so interesting to talk to someone about this because
it
it felt weird. It was like,
yeah.
I'm very far away, you know, and like from a safety perspective. And, you know, it was a couple of years ago. And I'm so lucky. I got roofied in Mykonos.
Oh,
And
I got dropped in Naxos.
hey, but what's so great about it is I kind of recognized I was woozy early and I got myself back to my room
Yeah.
and I woke up like 10 hours later and I got up. I had my passport, I had my wallet, I had my cell phone, and I was like, yeah.
Yep.
So it's like, I got drugged and nothing happened to me. Fuck yeah. This is so great.
I mean,
So
the
it's
best
funny.
possible outcome if you're going to be drugged.
Yeah. Like, especially being as far away from home as you are,
Yeah.
like, as far as away as you could possibly be. I woke
Yeah.
up, I was like, I have my passport, I have my wallet, I have my cell phone. This is great. I love
Yeah.
this. That's
Well,
funny.
apparently they're very good at drugging people, but not very good at doing anything after. They're very because mine was kind of a similar situation where it's just like I got drugged, but nothing happened. Actually, well, for me,
Yeah.
he was trying to, I have a half sister. My dad got remarried.
Mm-hmm.
I have a half sister in Greece. And she grew up there, and she kind of grew up a little more sheltered than I was. So every time I go, we go out, and I'm the one who gets her. I'm like, "Let's get
Fun.
drunk," and she's like,
Yeah.
is this okay?" And so we were out, and this guy kept like eyeing us, and I was already creeped out by him. And I had these cigarettes that you can only buy on the mainland. And we were on an island and he was from there, so he obviously used that as an excuse. And he's like, "Oh, I'll trade you a cigarette for a cigarette." And I was like, "Absolutely not, but you can just have one. Like just take one of mine."
Smart girl.
And
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "Don't be stupid." She was just pushing me, and she was 17 or 18 at the time. She was 18 at the time, so a lot to learn still. And she was like pushing me and she's like, "Don't be an idiot. Like, take the cigarette. He's offering you a free cigarette." And I was like, "No, shut up." And she kept pushing me to the point where he knew I was onto him and I didn't want him to get weird and try to find another outlet. So I was like, "You know what? Fine, give me the cigarette." And I flipped it upside down to remember which one it was, put it in the case, and then just like snatched her, walked out of the club. I'm like, "We're going home. This is bad."
Yeah.
And so the next day I was at a cafe and I had my headphones in and I was drinking a coffee and I totally forgot about the cigarette. And I reached into my bag and grabbed that one of all cigarettes. I grabbed that one. Within the first drag, I just blacked out.
Oh
And
my
I like
God.
reached into my bag to grab whatever bill to pay for the coffee, and it ended up being a 50 euro bill. So I was like, "Damn it," for like a two
Yeah.
espresso. But and then I was blacked out before I got to the hotel. I like passed out in an alleyway, and I woke up. I don't know how much long, like how much longer
Oh
after,
my
but
God.
same scenario. I like woke up and I was like, and I had everything on me, so I was like, "I'm good." I walked back to the house and the house you're staying at, and my dad was the first one to see me, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I didn't want to freak him out because again, I've lived away from my dad my whole life, so I don't really know how he's going to react in that scenario. And I didn't want to freak my sister out even more than I had to. So I was like, "I'm fine, too much espresso." And he's like, "That's not it." At all. And I walked into
Yeah.
the bathroom and kind of just like sat in the shower for like an hour. And my sister's like, "What are you doing in there? Come out." And started like pounding on the door. And then she finally just walked in and I was just like looking up at her like this. And I was like, "That's why you don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happened." And then I called Danny, my brother, and he's like, "What are you feeling right now?" And I told him everything I was feeling, and he's like, "Oh, okay." He knew exactly what it was just from his experience in Miami. He like knew what it was, and he's like, "Okay, I know this sucks, but find a pretty place. In about 10 minutes, you're gonna feel euphoric." So I like went up to the roof. I went up to the roof of the hotel. He's like, get a pretty view. I'll stay on the phone with you. And he was so sweet.
Oh my God, quit being funny. That's like really funny. Don't be
And
funny. That's
and then like I
hilarious.
was just on the phone with him and I remember being like, "Whoa. Okay, I'm good. Thank you. Bye. Love you." But it was, yeah, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, and the best part is they actually knew the bar owner. I knew the bar owner and they knew who the guy was kind of. So the next day
Mm-hmm.
we went back to the bar and they brought him to me. They're like, "Is this the guy?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's him." And they're like, "All right, follow us outside." And they pinned him to a wall and let me just like I left my sister at the house at that point, and I just went on
Yeah.
this solo mission, and they let
Good.
wail on him while they just pinned him down. I was like, "Motherfucker!"
Fuck yeah.
Yeah,
And when you're young and when you're her age, and this is something like we know now with like women our age, it's fuck politeness and you don't owe anyone anything.
right. Yeah,
And as women, you're just supposed to be sweet, kind, nice,
yeah,
and you're taught to be nice and like, no, you're still people pleasing at that age,
yeah, definitely.
you know? Okay, I want to tell one other really funny story
Yeah.
about like hang out in Europe because it's just funny. I was walking home in Naples in Italy. It's a little seedy. It's
Uh-huh.
quite seedy. Maybe it's like the New Orleans of like Italy.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Where it's just like be about yourself, like
Yeah.
have your wits about you. But there's this chick who like catcalled me and she was fine. And I was like, oh, hey. And she was like, so I started chatting with her a little bit. And then she was like, oh, come in here and come drink with me and my friends inside here. And she obviously like knew the owner of the bar and she knew everyone in the bar. So she was like regular. And I love women. So I was like, oh, yeah, fun. And it became apparent. So I was doing shots. I did vodka shots and I had about like 3, 4-ish.
Mhm.
And it became very apparent to me that this woman is a gypsy. And I was like, oh my God, I need to get myself out of here. I was like, I need to get myself out. So it was this funny awareness. I was like having fun drinking, partying, drinking for free at this cool bar in Naples. And I was also doing lots of shots. And I was like, this chick's a gypsy. I need to get out of here. And I did. And nothing bad happened to me, which is great.
Yeah.
But I love that.
I'm sure a lot of people don't get out of that situation easily.
Right. I like I'm glad I had some awareness and I was like, yeah, there you go. So obviously, like I said, you have a very sweet mom, cool brother. It's a very musical family. So
Yeah.
tell me about your love for music and what loving music means to you.
Um, I've always valued feeling things. The reason why I like having different experiences in life is because I like feeling deeply. And I've always felt that I feel, different types of art trigger people more than others. And for me, music has always been the thing. Like, even in movies, if it's a really sad movie, if there's no sad music behind a sad scene, I won't cry. I won't really feel much. But if it's a not so sad scene and there's a sad song behind it, I will weep like a child, you know? So for me,
Yeah.
music's always been the thing that makes me feel the deepest and the one thing I can entirely get lost in. Like, I started out with piano and when I was 4, and I remember, I mean, most days that I ended up just playing, messing around on the piano and trying to learn different chord structures and stuff like that. It's just like 5 hours would go by and I wouldn't even notice. So it
Wow.
was genuinely just getting something, I found something that I could get lost in entirely, eh, whether I understood it at the time or not.
I love that.
Yeah.
That just painted a picture in a way. I don't know if anyone's ever painted it. Like, I think people always talk about the difficulty of how hard it is to play guitar and like how much you have to practice and how much dedication it takes. And it's like, you really have to want it. And I
Yeah.
think how long have I been interviewing people? I think for the first time ever, you just described how easy and just like effortless, your
Yeah.
love and getting lost in it is. That's really cool.
Right. Well, I mean, it should if you love something enough. I there are many different types of musicians, and I was actually just talking to someone about this the other day, and certain people have more classical training, other people know more about music, like
Theory or,
whether you know about theory or you improvise or you just have a good ear or you grew up listening to it, playing it, whatever it is, the appreciation for it can be the same level regardless what your experience with it is or your level of expertise. Like you can get just as lost as someone who went to Berkeley and knows every single chord in the book and scale and,
yeah,
genre. It doesn't really, the depth of it doesn't matter. It's more just the connection and the level
yeah,
of connection, not the depth of the knowledge, but the depth of the connection, I feel, at least.
yeah. That's a really great point. I like the way
Yeah.
that you said that. And because it's like you're starting out and you have your whole career ahead of you, and I'm watching it, there's so many bad interviews out there. I know no one's going to ever ask you this ever, but I think it's a great question. Your artist name is Catacombs.
Yeah.
So, because everyone knows what catacombs are, they're never, I think, and let me know if anyone ever does,
Yeah.
but I think no one will ever ask you what that artist name means to you and why you picked it.
There's actually a pretty deeply rooted backstory. So I've always been playing music. I started recording, or at least trying to learn how to record when I was 15. My mom bought me Logic Pro and I just kind of, started messing with it. I didn't take classes or anything, but it was over the course of 2 years I learned how to use it enough to be able to record demos. And at the time it was mainly instrumental because I was very into film scores. Um, but I was always too scared to pursue music as a career, especially because everyone in my life was telling me that it was impossible to make a living. At that time, my brother was starting his career, but it was the beginning stages, and it was very much a struggle in the beginning. So I was watching him go through that, and that kind of deterred me a little. So I went to college for something entirely different. I studied interior design, so essentially, just like structural elements and the design aspect, and I went more into the visual arts than the performing arts. But I once I graduated college, I started a wood shop and I had a woodworking company, and it was called Pachamama Workshop. And I built sculptural furniture out of bone and wood. So it was no screws, no nails, all traditional joinery, and I would use the bone structurally. So it wasn't like skulls and horns and the more accessible bones. It was like femurs and scapulas and vertebrae and I would use them structurally, but then I would join them seamlessly into the wood to make the wood look like the skin of the bone. So it was a long process, and it took 2 years of failing nonstop to figure out how to do it. And I finally figured it out. And I loved what I was doing because I dedicated so much time, but not in the same way. I never got lost in it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up with all of this bone because I would process most of my own bone, like from a roadkill or, if a cow would die on a ranch or a horse or anything, from like heat or snake bite or anything. I was friends with all these people in Dallas and around Austin who owned ranches, and they would just drop off garbage bags of essentially animal body parts, and I would process it, and I ended up with a bone wall, which is like exactly what it sounds like. It is, I mean, every bone was categorized by shape, by style, by anatomy, by everything, by type of animal. And I had so much bone, and I loved looking at it. I always find it beautiful to make some to give something a second life. And in this case, it was kind of more through art than just repurposing. It was more through art and admiration and love for the element itself than just the function of what it could be. And I wanted to keep the bone theme going because in my head, I once I did start music, I mean, over once COVID hit, over quarantine, I kind of just had this strong sense of like, well, I have all these songs written, I know how to record, and I know I've been too scared to do this my whole life, but I'm ready for it. And I really do feel like if I die tomorrow without having tried, I mean, if I don't try, I'll want to kill myself in 10 years. Like this is awful. The feeling I had of not having tried something at that point when I thought the world was going to end, it kind of felt like my life flashing before my eyes and feeling like I didn't do everything that I could have. So I decided I was going to close the wood shop. I was going to quit woodworking. I can do that when I'm 60, 70. I can do that later in life when I'm too old to tour and I don't want to. But this is the last chance I'm going to have to be able to get out there and start something, not because of age, but because there is a physical limit to touring. Unfortunately, like it's very difficult to be on the road starting a career without any of the comfort, without any of the amenities that people have once they get to higher places in their career. As a 40, 50-year-old, it's difficult. It's hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just something I didn't want to have to find out later. So in my head, Catacombs was something I could relate back to the wood shop, and eventually I could have Catacombs Workshop, which incorporates all these sets for stage that I create myself with wood and bone. And it would kind of be like a bone altar, or like a keyboard stand made out of like horse femurs. And
Wow.
yeah,
Cool.
I feel like I wasn't fully ready to let go of the workshop. So I tried to incorporate it and give it a little shout out.
Yep. Next question. From a man's perspective, your voice is seductive and very worldly. You have very smart lyrics. From a woman's perspective, when we listen to music from another woman, I think we want to feel ourselves and we feel our bodies and our minds through the artist, through that woman's voice. And I think how we feel, um, we just embody, and it's like the epitome of like how we feel as a woman on the inside. That's what I feel when I listen to your music.
I love that.
It's very flowing, it's very ethereal. Does that make sense to you at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm flattered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's listening to your music. I think I mean to talk about, like, yes, you're sexy, yes, you're smart, yes, you're intelligent. But I think it's kind of a cool conversation that as women, when we listen to other women, it's because we want to feel ourselves and our bodies and like someone else.
Yeah.
And it feels really good to walk around the house and do my dishes and fix my
Yeah.
hair and just like be by myself in my apartment and be a woman and listen to your music. And it's very flowy and
Right.
ethereal feeling. I like that. Do you feel that way as well when you listen to other women?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that going back to our conversation about the being nice, how we're expected to be nice all the time. I feel like a lot of women want to be nice all the time, but then people taking advantage of that. We want to be delicate. We want to be feminine. We want to be in ourselves and feeling ourselves and giving and nurturing and all this. Anyone who considers themselves a feminine entity. I think they want to feel all those things, but the world isn't necessarily the safest place to be that all the time. So hear when I do feel that from other women's music, I want to dive into it and soak it in as much as I possibly can so that when I do have to put my game face on and go out into the world,
Mm-hmm.
I got my little hit. I got my little
Yeah.
fix of just being able to on the couch and
I just want to be a delicate little flower
float
for a little
and
while
float
longer.
around and everything. I mean,
Mhm.
even I feel like there's even moments where people who feel more masculine normally, even they have moments where they want to feel delicate and feminine
Mm-hmm.
and just beautiful,
Soft. Yeah,
soft. Yeah.
soft. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
So
love that.
the more music comes out like that, it balances out all the other stuff, which is this like tough, bad bitch energy, which is awesome, but there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. For sure. And then if you ever need to be really angry, just go listen to Paris Paloma.
Yeah. Well, it's very easy to be very angry nowadays.
Yeah.
Just turn
Mm-hmm.
on the news or open your phone or anything, and I'm sure something will come up. It's just like, ah.
I know. And I work from home and I have a social media company, so I'm constantly on my phone for work.
Yeah.
So I see everything. It's so upsetting. I see everything.
Bless.
It's
Yeah.
awful.
You can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I genuinely I love the idea that social media can create a community, but there are times where I'm just like, if I rely on this being my community, I'm gonna be faced with it. There's no escape.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't filter just the community part.
Yeah.
It comes with everything.
Yep.
You're gonna see all of it if you try to keep that as your
Yeah.
sole existence. So
Yeah.
it's awesome that it's there, that it exists, but you have to be able to tap out of it for your
Yep.
sanity.
Yep. Working on it, man. Working on
Yeah.
it. We're like,
Well, we
it's like
are. I mean,
trying to get our breaks in for sure. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I wanted to talk about your voice. The way that you sing is very intentional and controlled. It's like a dance. When did you first discover your voice and how has it evolved to where it is now? Because I feel like when you sing in a very specific way. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, well, I'm glad it comes off that way because for a very long time, again, I wanted to do instrumental and film scores mainly because I hated my voice growing up. Hated it. I thought I had the worst voice. It's not, like good in a technical sense. Like I can't do all the runs and trills and my range isn't massive and I'm not good at belting. I tighten up. I've never really learned the technique behind it. So for me, I was always just terrified of putting it out there because I thought it sucked. And even the first few shows I played, anyone close to me who would come to the shows, they're like, we could barely hear you, because I'd just be like, and I kind of just stopped being scared of it. More scared, more than scared of it. I stopped being scared of judgment for it. So I started just listening to more music, and the more I listened to different artists and different genres, the more I realized some of my favorite bands are the ones where like they kind of sing out of tune sometimes and off key and out of time, like off time, and they don't have the best breath control. And even a lot of bands growing up, just like, I mean, bands that are huge, not there's not as much importance on the technical aspect
Mm-hmm.
as people make it seem, I feel.
Off the top of my head, I'm just like brand new. I am heaven sent, don't you? I am da 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 da
Yeah. I
da.
mean,
It's all a very small range.
yeah, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I mean, even like in a pop world, like Lana Del Rey has objectively, she has, whether you like her music or not, she has a beautiful voice.
Yeah,
It's beautiful, but her range isn't insane. She's not doing like crazy
yeah, it's
things.
here. It lives here.
Yeah. And and I don't know, I just kind of started paying more attention to other people's vocals, and in doing so, it gave me more of a reason to explore mine, but also just one of those um there are so many different styles, why compare?
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped comparing my voice to anyone else's, and that allowed me to explore. And then in exploring it, it just kind of all fell into place in terms of what I want to be doing, Like it's not, I didn't try for it. It just all kind of fell into place. And then one day I remember I just gave it my all and I was like, "Rah!" And I was like, oh my God, it worked. And
Yeah.
then confidence, it's really, really all about confidence. Like as much as you want to emphasize your diaphragm and the vocal warm-ups and coming down. I'm sure if you're touring for 3 months straight, playing hour-and-a-half long shows, all those things are very important because you will wear it out. You will fuck up your vocal cords. You will mess up. But in finding your voice, I don't think the technical aspects are as important as people make it seem. I feel like it really is more just go for it and be sure of yourself.
Yeah, like whatever you are and specifically what you are is your superpower.
Yeah.
That's your superpower is like literally like who you are.
Yeah.
That's your
And then you
superpower.
can learn the techniques to protect it and to make it, to take it to the next level. But until you actually find your voice, if we all just go based off YouTube videos of how to, like, we're all gonna end up with the same
Yeah.
voice, or it's gonna make you feel like you can't and you're incapable.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
And hot tip hot tip is arnica tea. They make arnica tea.
I don't know about that.
You can get it off of Amazon. Ann Wilson from Heart swears by it.
Yeah.
Arnica, she uses it for her voice. So
I
arnica
don't
tea.
even, yeah, I don't even do warm-ups most of the time, which is probably bad, but I just do throat coat tequila.
Is that
Yeah.
sorry, that's
I
just tequila, right? That's just tequila.
Well, it's with throat coat tea.
Oh,
Or it's
okay.
like a hot
Throat.
toddy.
Okay, so I was like, is that an actual type of tequila?
No, it's an actual type of tea that I mean, a lot of musicians use. It's like it's it just coats your throat with
Yeah,
like numbing. It makes your throat feel good. You
there you go.
when you're sick.
Yep.
And or if you have a raspy voice, it helps a lot. Just kind of bring everything back, smooth everything out. And
Yeah.
I just drink a hot toddy with throat coat and
Yum.
shit ton of tequila.
Oh my God, that sounds good. I don't drink tequila at all,
Yeah.
and I drank 2, 3 shots with y'all last time I saw y'all of tequila. And I don't, my best friend from high school and we both have the same story of when we stopped drinking tequila when we were like 20, like years ago. And
Yeah.
I have not had tequila since. And I drank like 2 or 3 shots of tequila with y'all last time I saw y'all. So y'all are the tequila gang, you
That's
guys, for
what
sure.
I'm
It's like so wild. And I
Yeah.
was I was sassy that night, and I'm like, oh yeah, my personality was sassy. I was like, oh, it's because I drink tequilas. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's me most nights on tour is just, damn, I was sassy.
Sassy. I'm
Yeah,
like, ooh, I was sassy. I have fun.
yeah. But there's something about like when I'm home, so I don't drink really when I'm home from tour,
Mm-hmm.
which I know a lot of people who are sober on tours, and then when they get home, they're menaces to society. For me,
Yeah.
it's the opposite. Especially with Amigo, on my solo tours, not so much, but when you are in a band in a community, there's something about like wanting to just
Party.
let loose.
Party.
And
Yeah, for sure.
something about the adrenaline of having to do everything and like, especially with loadout, knowing that I have loadout every night and that it's going to take us like 45 minutes. It's just 45 minutes of sobering up. It is so hard for me to get proper drunk, no matter
Mm-hmm.
how much I drink. So I am a force while I'm on tour with how much I'm just a unit of, of booze. And then I get home and I'll have one shot and I'm like, wow. And it's too much. I can't do it. I don't know
Yeah,
how, like, I can't drink if I'm off tour, really. I drink like a 17-year-old girl when I'm off tour, but then on tour, I mean, I'm pretty sure I drink I can drink more than most men I know.
for sure. That's very funny.
Just a
I love
brick.
that. That's great.
Yeah.
So, buck or bust basically means put up or shut up, drown, because if you don't swim, you're going to drown, kind of thing.
Yeah.
One line I found particularly interesting is, which as a woman, I thought it was so interesting that you put in the line, "My looks are fading."
Yeah.
That really stood out to me as a very relatable and brave lyric. It reminded me of TLC's Unpretty.
Oh.
I know that feeling. So thank you
Yeah.
for putting that line in there. But there's a whole other storyline happening throughout that song. So what's the story that you're like kind of living through that song?
So it's based off a time in my life where um, it was my mid-20s and it was kind of the moment where I was like, should I do this or should I not? And it was kind of when I started doubting my passion for what I was doing with the wood shop. Um, and I wanted to get into music, and the person that I was with at the time was a musician, and he was very involved. He was doing well for himself. And he tried to motivate me all the time to keep writing because he would hear me play all the time and he would hear my songs and he motivated me a lot, but he would always say, you have about 1 or 2 years until it starts, until you start to get too old where no one will really care anymore. And he wouldn't necessarily specify that it was because of my looks, but then he would um, encourage me to drink smoothies and keep my weight down and do all these things. And I noticed that he cared a little too much about my appearance. And that whole song was kind of about this, how painful it is to have that reality as a woman, but freeing it is as how freeing it is to realize how little it matters while you still have it, not once it's gone. I know so many women who are older and they feel more empowered than ever at whatever age. It's just you keep growing and it never stops. I don't really know many women who um mourn for their younger self. Like they really every powerful woman I've ever met in my life, they always say, no, I would never go back, even if I had the chance to go back. Like I feel more myself, more powerful, more confident, more I feel louder than ever. And for me it was one of those things that like I don't want to live in fear of losing it until one day I realize it's okay to have lost it. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. I
Yeah.
want to while I still feel young and beautiful and whatever, I want to remind myself that I'm still going to feel that then. It's just going to be different now and appreciate myself now just as much as I will then. Not frantically try to preserve myself like a fucking pickle, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Not have it then, like experience over preservation for me always.
Yeah.
And that for me was kind of a reminder of like, it's not. And then the second chorus, it comes in with, the skin won't shame me. So it's kind of the journey of someone who leaves home to have all these experiences in fear that they're going to lose the ability to have those experiences because they're not young enough, they're not pretty enough anymore, they're not smart enough or witty or anything. And then in having those experiences, you realize that as long as you promise yourself you're never going to give up on the chance to keep having those things, um, fear and the self is the only thing that's going to hold you back from continuing to have those things. And
Mm-hmm.
so that whole song was about like whether I start it now. I mean, eventually I broke up with that guy and then I waited another 4 years to start my music career because I was like, defiance. Fuck you. I will not start tonight, today, tomorrow. I will start when I'm ready. And that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. And that's good. And
Yeah.
it'll be just as important to me then as
Mm-hmm.
it would have been when I was 18. Like it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel that like right now, like with
Yeah.
the podcast and mhm. And
Yeah.
it's just like it goes back to like all the stories that people told you about yourself that you believe that were never true.
Yeah.
It's like the things people tell you about yourself that were never ever true. And it's
Yeah.
such a message for anyone listening. Same with my friends. Oh my God. Like, I'm in my 30s. All my girlfriends are like either my age or older older. Like
Hmm.
my girlfriends are 30s, 40s, 50s, and they are the most vibrant, fun,
Yeah.
best time of their lives, vibrant, fabulous women. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's really a lie that society tells you that it's so based on, you know, your youth. It's such a lie.
It's really just about a youthful mentality, not youth itself.
Hmm.
Like youth is not limited to age. Youth is lifestyle. Youth is um how much hope you have for change, like anything. It's just the reason we feel young when we're young is because we have a whole life ahead of us. But if you always live like you have a life ahead of you, you're gonna be youthful.
Yeah.
No one can take that away from you. Not age, not your looks, not your partner, not no one. No one.
Yeah.
Like it's a choice.
And I saw a great quote on Instagram the other day, and I've seen it a few times, and it's so good, and it's such a good reminder. If it wasn't meant for you, you wouldn't have the desire. So
Yep.
if it wasn't possible for you to achieve, you wouldn't be like laying in bed at night just thinking about it. Like if it wasn't meant for you, if you like really couldn't achieve it, I don't think you would be like laying in bed, lying awake at night, looking at the ceiling, like thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's why I never wanted to be an astronaut because I would throw up within like 3 seconds of taking off with my motion sickness. I'd be
You're like,
like,
oh, that
"Three,
sounds
2, 1."
awful.
Ah.
Oh my God. I started
Like,
getting motion sickness like the past 8 months, and I
yeah.
always forget I have it. And now, like, it's new to me, and I'm like, oh no. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's awful. No thanks. No thanks. Okay. Everyone thinks I'm Hispanic, but I'm not. I don't
Yes.
know if I should say it out loud.
Okay.
I remember I'm like, oh no, I'm so nervous. And I'm German and Native American, but everyone wants me to be Latina so bad. So I'm like, okay. But I think the way you said it, it was, no, I don't want to.
Stop saying.
No, it was, so yeah, I don't want to, it was so great the way you said it. Como un rayo?
Como un rayo. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whoop.
I remember like how you said it, and I was like, I can repeat that, but then I got so nervous saying it.
Yeah.
It's a Spanish song. You sing in Spanish a lot, which
Yeah.
is really beautiful. So, are you Hispanic? And what are some of the words that you're saying in Spanish? Because I don't
Yeah.
speak Spanish myself, so I'm like, what is she saying?
Makes sense. So my mom is from Spain,
Okay.
and most of my mom's like immediate family they live in Panama now. So I always had that connection. And then growing up in Miami, I grew up, I mean, like blocks away from Calle Ocho, which is essentially Little Havana. Like it's just an extension of
Yeah.
Cuba, at least in the 90s it was and 2000s. But yeah, I grew up speaking Spanish. I still only speak to my mom in Spanish, so it's always been my love language, which I wouldn't call Spanish my first language. I would still say English is my first language, but it was the first language that I learned, and because of that, I express love better in Spanish. So anything that has to do um with very intimate, anything that has to do with intimacy, I feel flows better in Spanish, which is why I like writing lyrics in Spanish so much. And anything business related or, more structural in my life is English. Um,
Funny. I love that.
so that song was one of my first attempts at writing in Spanish. Um, and I started it a long, long time ago. And that song it's kind of about being swept away into a not so great relationship that might be a little toxic or not great. Um, but you just want to dive in for the lessons that it'll give you. You know something's gonna come out of it in the end. Not in a I'm using it way, but in I'm gonna release control way, knowing there's a darker force that can suck you in and kind of being curious. It's kind of like,
You mean my whole love life? Yes.
yeah, exactly.
You mean like every choice I've made up to this point?
Yeah. And so the last part of it is it's I'm trying to remember. It's so como un rayo means like a lightning bolt. So he came down like a lightning bolt and swept me away, essentially. It's kind of like this demonic force just coming and sweeping you off your feet, and you just being okay because of the thrill of it and because of this um, wanting to test your boundaries and test your limits of how much darkness you can handle in your life, which I think is a very important thing, especially for women in their formative years, like
Mm-hmm.
in their mid to late teens. I feel like it is kind of important to explore the dark parts because that's where you learn to handle pain. That's where you learn your coping methods. That's where you learn to trust yourself and trust that you will always bounce back. If you don't have the fall, you don't know how to lift yourself back up?
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
that's an interesting way to look at it, by the way, because that's a very healthy way to look at it because I feel like I've always been like, God, why did I have to go through that? Like, that was
well,
awful. Like, why?
yeah,
That's actually like a positive way of looking at it.
in the moment, for sure. I mean, in the moment, I definitely didn't see it that way. But when I started writing it, it had a whole different meaning to me. And then I think once I finished the song, I was at a point in my life where I'd been through enough heartbreak to know that it's never going to be as hard as it was in those years. Like I will never ever not have myself again, no matter what. And that's a very important thing to learn early in life, I feel. So it was kind of all these lessons that I learned what I consider later in my life. Um, I wish someone had told me, it's okay, go explore, but come back. Bluebeard is kind of the same in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, like to a degree, the same concept of just like go explore, but know how to run back, know how to sprint back to yourself. Like you should be coming back to yourself faster than you left.
You're
Um,
saying this with confidence, but I'm just like, I honestly feel like that's a concept I've like maybe kind of come to like last week
yeah.
or
Well,
or like a month ago.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
It's
I'm
a
just
bit,
like listening to you talk about it, and I'm 36. I turn 37 next Sunday.
yeah.
And I feel like what you're talking about, I feel like I just maybe kind of understood like a week ago or 5 days ago.
I mean, but you say that, but I'm sure there's been moments in your life where you've been giving a friend advice where you say something that you have not applied to yourself.
Well, of course, that's all advice.
Yeah.
That's
And
us with all
yeah,
advice. Yeah, for sure.
and that's the thing with songwriting. For me, it kind of feels like a lot of the songs I write, I have younger me in mind, right?
Hmm.
So it's like, what advice would I want to give that person? And they're not necessarily just because I write about it, doesn't mean that I've absorbed the lesson, that I've learned the lesson. It just
Gotcha.
means that I'm advising a younger version of myself, hoping that someone will hear it before they get to the age I was when I wrote it and
Hmm.
take it to heart and learn faster than I did. All we can
Yeah.
do generationally is just get better and hope the next one's better, and we all do a little better than the one above. And
Yeah.
for me, it's just like, well, what advice would I have given myself? And there are still moments where I mean, my heart gets shattered often by many things, like
Hmm.
family relationships, friends, everything. We
Hmm.
experience heartbreak in so many different forms, so often. And and that was my way of trying to finally just be like, No, if you forget, here's a reminder,
Yeah.
you know." And yeah, it's not something I'm like, this is it. I've thought of it so much because I wrote the song that
Hmm.
it's now a lesson that I feel like is stuck in my head of just don't say feel, but don't think. And I feel like
Okay, okay, I won't. Or I mean, okay, I will. Okay, I promise. I'm gonna do better. Okay. All right,
Legit,
I'll do it. Okay.
legit. You're sitting here looking beautiful and smiling like fucking crazy, doing what you love because you learned at some point, whether you want to admit it or not, you know? You learned in
What?
some way that it has to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about things without having like an absolute meltdown. You know, we were talking earlier
Mm-hmm.
about your current situation without having any sort of like chaos, because ultimately, no matter how much it hurts, you know it's going to be okay.
Yep.
You're just tearing a piece of paper to shreds right now. Just like,
No, it's super funny. No, actually, I kind of actually what you described. So this is the first time I would say I've seen some unhealthy things, and I didn't hear what I wanted to hear when I brought it up, but I'm just actually kind of what you said. I've been like, okay, nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. It's
yeah.
okay. There you go. Yeah, there you go. No, these are just very interesting concepts, and I relate to them a lot. I really do. So it's just nice chatting with someone about concepts that I feel very much, and I'm like, yep, uh-huh.
Well, I'm glad that it's relatable. I mean, I hate that you're like ever hurting, but I'm glad that
Oh,
it's not that I'm glad that it
but
doesn't.
boy, was it worth it though.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, what a life, right?
Yeah.
How fucking cool, but also,
But also, ouch.
yeah, yeah, just, uh-huh, yeah, yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways, okay, back to another song I wanted to talk about. What's the story behind Long Way Home?
Long Way Home is a Tom Waits cover.
Oh, cool. Okay,
Yep.
so this question is at the bottom. I don't know who that is. I love folk music. So
Tom
there's all
Waits.
this music. I love folk. I love dark. I don't even know who that is. I was going to ask you, like, is that a folk artist? Do you have other folk artists you recommend? Because I love this type of music. I know nothing about it. I love these songs I find, and I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, Tom
So who's
Waits is
that?
someone, um, I mean, I definitely, I definitely remember, I mean, I remember here listening to him like in my early teens because of Danny. He was always very, very into him. I'm sure I would have found out about him eventually either way, but he kind of fits into that whole like in terms of depth and uniqueness and sound. I feel like he fits in that whole like Leonard Cohen world, you know, where it's
Is that another one? I don't know who that is either.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
great.
they're all just I feel like all of their songs could be just as powerful without the musical element because their lyrics are just straight up poetry. Like it is beautiful, beautiful. But they are also musical geniuses. Like Tom Waits has so many different elements of like um I would even call it like world folk almost. He
Mm-hmm.
uses he takes so much influence from different parts of the world and different sounds and different percussive elements and rhythmic just melodies, you know, like
Yeah.
um styles and genres. I don't know what genre. I'm also terrible at genres. I don't know what to categorize him as, but if you haven't listened to it, either of those two, you definitely should. Just like
Deep dive.
they're definitely artists that you want to listen to fully though, not just like one or two songs, because they kind of are the perfect example of that like non-traditional vocal style,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like they have each just developed their own voice entirely without even trying. It's just it, I mean, Tom Waits most of the time sounds like he's barking into a microphone, you know? But, but it's fucking perfect for what he's doing. It just works. It drives every single song, and he's such a force. And
I love it.
Yeah, you
That was
definitely
awesome.
should.
Yay.
But Long
I
Way
love some
Home
work.
was one of my favorite songs of his. Um, and I felt like covering it. I started playing it on I do you know what the Rolly keyboard is?
No.
It's like a squishy keyboard that has pitch bend incorporated. So
Wild.
if you drag your finger up the keyboard, it has pitch bend, so it goes
Mm-hmm.
and then you can hold a note. And if you like shake
Wow.
the note, it actually affects the vibrato and the pitch and everything. And
Wow.
it's just so easy to manipulate the sound on it. And I started playing that song just with a rolly. So it was just this very like long, drawn out, slow do, and I would just sing
Nice.
over it for hours at a time. Like I just loved the way those two sounds. It felt so drony and deep, and it felt like I was playing a million notes at once when I was really just going back and forth between two notes the whole song. And that's when I decided I wanted to cover it. And of course, the version I did has a lot more than just those two notes. But in
Mm-hmm.
my head, the way I cover it will always be just those two notes. And the lyrics, it kind of highlights the lyrics. And I love the lyrics to that song so much. They mean so much to me.
I love that. What
Yeah.
are like a couple lines from the song, just off the top of your head that are like,
One of
oh,
one of my favorite lines of that, which I I tell myself all the time, is money's just something you throw off the back of a train. And it's not to say that it's not to say that money is useless. It's not to say that if you have money, you shouldn't appreciate it, you know? It's to say that we have money so that we can use it for things that we love,
yeah,
not for the things necessarily that we think we should want or have.
yeah,
It's just like if you want to make money to do this because it improves, as long as it improves you as a person, it's going to improve the world. But like
that's not
just
your
buying
measure of who you
buying
are.
a yacht for the sake of it, just for the fuck of it, isn't going to improve you or the world. It's just going to add a list of problems that you have.
Yeah,
But if there's something that you can genuinely, like any good cause of anything you achieve, like it should be for self-improvement, not
yeah,
for show or for status or for anything. It's
or just
like
not feeling good enough if you
I
don't have
just love
something.
that line. Yeah. And then for some people, it means absolutely nothing. And that's awesome. Like, that's perfect. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting it or not wanting it. But as long as
Yeah,
you want it, if you want it, it should be for the right reasons, I feel.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, one other song I wanted to talk about, then we'll do a little bit of Amigo the Devil stuff. Rip Torn kind of
Yes.
walks you through a relationship, right?
So, yeah, is
Mm-hmm.
actually a song about my relationship with Austin.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
As a city. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just up, down, and
So,
around. I'm thinking
it
about
was
moving myself, so.
I mean, it was just, I wouldn't even say it's Austin specifically. I think it was just my experience in Austin. And it's about that feeling of ending up at an after party and performing for everyone there, anytime we're out late night. Um, if you're not, if it's not just you in a room with all your best friends or like the people you feel closest to, if you just end up at a random after party, it's always kind of a performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that feeling of needing to perform just because you're chasing something
Yeah.
else. Like in this case, you're not chasing success or a career or
Yeah.
anything. You're chasing friendship, you're chasing approval, you're chasing
Yeah.
drugs, you're chasing whatever it is. And at the time I was partying a lot.
Yeah.
So it was kind of well, if I'm gonna be chasing something, it's not gonna be this.
Cool. Yeah, my best friend calls it soulless. There are
Yeah.
like some places I like to go, and she's like, oh, I fucking hate that place. It's soulless.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about, she's like, that soulless fucking place. I hate that soulless fucking place. I
Yeah.
hate that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it talks about the chase a lot, and there's one line that talks about like everyone ending up in some little shanty, like filled with, obscure records and sage burning, and everyone there is just chasing the muse. Whatever the muse is to them, everyone's just chasing the muse. And that's not how the muse works, Like,
Mm-hmm.
if there is a muse, if there's an internal muse that comes to you when you're trying to write or be creative or anything, that's definitely not where she's going to show up.
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about moving to Nashville myself maybe next
Yeah.
year. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I've never been, so I need to
Okay.
go soon.
We'll go
But
visit.
I know, isn't that funny? I'm like thinking about moving there and I've never been, so I'm like,
I
that's
mean,
pretty
that's cool
funny.
too, but Nashville in particular, I find is not for everyone. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's a bad place, but it wasn't for me.
There's a lot of people I love who I know who live there. So I think that would just be fun because there's like so many people I love who I know who live there. So I think that would be fun. I
Yeah,
just think it would be like fun to explore a different scene,
yeah,
like in the cool little special ways, the little things you accidentally come upon sometimes that are really special. I think I could have a lot of that in Nashville.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
so many talented people too. Like, there's so much talent in that city.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't thrive there personally.
I got it. But yeah,
But
the way I'm appreciating you, you're a very talented woman. So yeah, like coming upon lots of talented people, I think would be like really fulfilling for me. I think that would be fun.
thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope you end up loving it if you do go. And I'll come visit, obviously, because everyone I love is there.
Hey, yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Well, good. I'm glad. So let's switch modes a little bit and talk about your side gig,
Yeah.
serving looks and kicking ass on stage with your brother, Amigo the Devil.
Mhm.
So how many instruments do you play, by the way, out of curiosity? I've seen you play guitar, you do keyboard. You
Yeah.
were talking about that thing.
Well, that's technically a keyboard,
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But it is, and then I've been through Amigo. I've been exploring percussion a lot. I've been wanting to get into. I'm trying to convince them to get me a little cocktail kit so we can have two drummers in certain parts. But they're like, nah, you get a floor tom and a bell at best. I
That's
call it
funny.
my Tom Square Fool station. It's my little
Mm-hmm.
station.
Yeah.
Little floor tom with a bunch of little clamps and accessories, and he loves the band Swans, so he's been trying to turn me into the Thor Harris of Amigo, just like smashing a bunch of things very, very intentionally.
Cool.
And
It's another band I've never heard of. Thanks for the recommendation. Great. Love this for me.
Swans is amazing. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
good.
Um, but yeah, it's basically those three. Those
Mm-hmm.
three. I've been getting more into just playing like drums, Spanish, like bongos, things like that, trying to learn more about the rhythmic world, the
Yeah,
percussive world.
for sure.
Um, and then guitar, I've never taken lessons, but I have been trying to get better at because I realize I enjoy playing it live more than keys. I love
Cool.
playing piano at home for days, but live, I really, really like the freedom that you have with a guitar of just being able to walk anywhere on stage. I like to pace a lot and I love to dance, as you know. But
Yeah.
with keys, it's really, really hard. You're kind of just stuck there and you
Yeah.
look like a big old nerd sometimes.
Well, talking about what you look like, I actually want to talk about it because we're women. Let's talk about style.
Yeah.
It's the full picture that I see on stage that I'm like super attracted to. I love your style. I love the way that you move. Um, what is like your inspiration style wise? And like, what are some cool pieces that you just like really build your style around? So we talked about music, but I did just want to ask a little bit about your cowboy boots and your hats and like what you're
Yeah.
trying to do vibe wise.
So I actually, I mean, I think I bought my first pair of cowboy boots when I was like 12 or something in Miami because I just always loved the aesthetic of it. But then I didn't really get into wearing boots on stage like when I performed um until I started two-stepping. I got very into two-stepping, and this was like 2015, I think. I got very into two-stepping. I did it almost every day. I mean, for like a year, I didn't even drink. I would go to White Horse and I wouldn't even drink.
That's fair.
Sometimes I would just two-step for hours and hours. And and then eventually I was like in some music videos for two-stepping, and then I was in like a Super Bowl Shiner Bach commercial once for two-step. It just became
Hey.
such a huge thing in my life. And obviously when you two-step, you need to be able to like glide and slide and move and twirl and everything. Um, and you can't really do that in sneakers or Crocs or heels or any other shoe that I've been known to wear. Mainly Crocs. Um, so I kind of just took that to stage because it looks amazing. It looks elegant. It has so much personality to it, and I it goes with any outfit almost. It gives every outfit character, and then also just the mobility. Like I like being able to twist and turn my feet in certain ways where your feet don't get stuck because of the rubber sole.
Yeah.
And it just kind of became my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then once I moved from Austin, I kind of felt like a poser continuing to wear it. I was like, I don't even live in Texas anymore. How, now I'm just this person in like LA or whatever wearing cowboy boots, but who gives a shit? I
No,
love it.
that's who you are.
It reminds me, I mean, I spent a decade in Austin, so I feel like
Mm-hmm.
in a way I am rooted there in a sense, and it
Yeah.
brings me back to my mom's still there and my friends' family. It's kind of like, no, I wasn't born and raised there, but I definitely left a lot of my heart there.
I just love that you're a White Horse girl. I love
Yeah.
White Horse.
Yeah, I know. And
I
it's just funny because Whitehorse is a completely entirely in its own, like, it's its own unit of dancing. Like, two-stepping anywhere else in the world is not the same as two-stepping in Whitehorse. Whitehorse has its
Yeah.
own style entirely of dancing.
And it's like the Olympics. Like
Yeah.
I don't do it. I need to go take lessons. I'm busy. I've got the podcast, whatever. But like I love going there alone.
Yeah.
I love standing in the corner. It's like I'm in a Johnny Cash movie. So it reminds me of Walk the Line. And I feel
Yeah.
like I'm in a time warp. And anytime I have friends in from out of town, like I brought Three Doors Down to Whitehorse and they fucking loved it. They were like, this place is so cool. And they
Yeah.
live in Nashville. So I was like, and I did good. And they were like, yeah, this place is like really great. It's like, yeah, it's this super romantic time warp where I go stand in the corner of the stage. Like, stage is here. I stand by the corner where the stack is. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
just watch everyone spin. And I think it's the most romantic thing. And
Yeah.
it's just lovely. It's
It's
really cool.
it's so beautiful. I love the etiquette of it too. Like there's a whole etiquette to two-step, to the dancing with a
Mm-hmm.
partner and like interchanging partners and meeting other people. And then like there are people who I strictly know through dancing and will catch up maybe in two sentences,
Mm-hmm.
but then we're like holding each other closely
Yeah.
and dancing, and there's no conversation involved. I don't know any of their backstories, but I've known them for 7 years. And anytime I walk in there and I see
Mm-hmm.
them, it's just like, want to dance? Yes. How have you been? Good. You? Good, good. And then
Yep.
nothing else for the next 4 minutes. But,
Mm-hmm.
you're so close and you feel their warmth, and it's almost like you have this connection that's nonverbal, that's non-sexual either.
Yeah. No,
And
it's just
there are very few other
mhm.
things that are, a deep connection that are nonverbal and non-sexual aside
And
from dance.
very pure. It's like
Yeah,
very pure.
yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. I love
So
that.
I fell in love with it. And that definitely influenced my style a lot, was just kind of diving into that world.
That's so cute to me because I'm just at White Horse constantly and I love your style. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. I love that. That makes me so
But then
happy.
there's also the dark side, because like I grew up with an older brother who listened to metal most of my life, and I like had my little, fake little goth phase, and like
Yeah.
I experimented with all of it. I had friends who were into darker things, like I had friends who were into strictly clubbing in Miami, so I'll combine all of it. I'll wear like the black leather long coat with the tiny little Miami skirt and the Texas boots, and it's just really the way I dress and the way I style myself is I've never gone based off of what I see around me. I've gone strictly based off of personal experiences that shape me.
Yeah.
And it's almost like little fragments that I've collected from different times of my life, from different places in the world, and I've just patched it all together to create an
Yeah.
outfit.
Well, it's really, what's a good word? I'm an interviewer. What's a word? I don't know. It's really all encompassing and it's like, this isn't a great phrase. It's a feast for the eyes. Weird phrase. But
No,
it's just, it's cool.
great.
I really like your style and I really love watching your presence on stage. And I think I told you or whatever. And like just looking at your outfit, I'm like, yeah, yes. And I'm like, yes. So everything I see, I love your style. And every part of your style that I see, I'm like, yeah, I love that. That's great. So I'm glad we got to talk about it. It's really
I
cool.
try. I enjoy it. I don't think it's I don't think there's any importance to the way people look if that's not something they care about.
Yeah.
But I love caring about it. I love catering to it. I just love feeling and looking my best. And
Yeah.
the days that I don't, which there are days that I walk out of the bus on tour with like literally like 3/4 sweatpants because I chopped off the bottom the bottom part. And it's just like capri sweatpants and like a 2X t-shirt with my hair in a side pony, just
Killing
like
it.
all
Yeah.
frazzled and dismantled. And I don't feel like less of a person in those moments,
Yeah.
but I do like having both extremes. I like not giving a shit at all, and I love
Hmm.
carefully curating an outfit to the last element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the joy of being a woman. We can do both.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our voices, and we're ladies. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. So one part about Amigo the Devil that I wanted to talk about, that I find so interesting. It must be interesting for you to watch, and he's your brother. But what I find really interesting about y'all's live show is that he's obviously a very prolific storyteller
Yeah.
in a way that's very old-timey. And
Yeah.
he like sings through things, and his eyes get all wide. And
Yeah.
it's like something from a couple hundred years ago where he's
Yeah.
like reading a storybook and he's like reading to the crowd and being creepy and bulging out his eyes and talking through it. And it's just this really unique, wild thing to watch. So has that impacted you with like how you perform, or have you picked up any things from him? Because it's really a talent and an art the way he can just go like this with the
Yeah.
crowd. It's very interesting. And it's very unique, and he just says the way he does it. It's very
Yeah.
interesting. So is it
So,
funny for you watching that and kind of like picking things up from that at all?
well, at times it is funny because it there will always be this element of like, watching a room of 1,000 people, or like even 500 people, watching my brother and just being mesmerized, and me being like, this idiot.
You're like, what this
And
nerd?
that's not at all how I feel about him, because
Yeah.
he's amazing. I think he's endlessly, like, I respect him so much, and I learn every day from him. Like every single day, there's something I learn from, or every day on tour, every day that I'm around him, I learn something from him. He is such a special. I've never met anyone like him. But there is I feel like most of it stems from allowing himself. Again, we're both, I think, because of our mom, she feels very deeply, and we were always encouraged to feel very deeply. So I don't know if this is a nature nurture thing because she was always like that, and I don't know if we're like that too because she taught us to be, or if it just runs in our genes. But in our family, we're just generally speaking very dramatic often.
That's funny.
Like like
Yeah.
any other family that is from places like Spain and Greece, which is a very fiery
Which
combination.
makes like so much sense because your brother's
Yeah.
always in a Hawaiian shirt walking around with the shit eating grin on his face, like smoking a cigar. So just like your stories is like, oh, that checks. There you go. I was like, oh, I understand so much more now. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so the drama, I think we're just naturally dramatic, not in our daily lives like with people, but I mean our reactions to things are dramatic in general. Even my hand gestures most of this interview have been like juggling with my hands, but yeah, that a lot of that just comes out. I see it come out in him. I've seen people try to do it like him and it looks performative.
Mm-hmm.
With him, it just comes out naturally,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that I definitely feel it's a skill that he honed. It's something that he had to hone and learn when to unleash it and when to draw back. And I feel like the fact that he doesn't constantly unleash that power is what draws people in. It's not the intense moments, it's the moments where he draws back.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the moment where he's staring at the crowd with his eyes bulging out and like
Yeah.
screaming to the microphone. It's where then he softens up, pulls back, takes a lap around, and just kind of gives a little smirk, you know?
Yeah, like a great example of like I'm bad with song titles, but at one of the songs, his voice travels off and he's singing like big sing, but then at the end of like one of the last songs, he cracks his voice and it's like everything's fine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just the way that like little trail off.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell because of that, you can tell he means it every time.
Mm-hmm.
That song makes me, that song makes me cry almost every single time because I mean, I know a lot of the backstory, obviously, so it's like a little
Yeah.
more personal knowing
And
it.
the emotions of singing that brilliantly, like tell me the pain. I don't have a voice like he does. The pain, wailing the pain of coming clean, whatever, just like, and then the orchestra. Holy shit. Oh my God. That's
He
so
just,
much.
I think he just means, I mean, obviously I can't speak for him, but I feel like he just means everything he says. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's why it's so important to tell stories that you really do understand, not just what's cool or in.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people try to mimic his songwriting, even not like in a bad way, but even if it's just as a learning, like as an influence. If you don't mean something and you don't understand something, you can't possibly play it off. You can't convince anyone.
What he does could definitely be quirky. Not quirky's not the word, but like it could definitely be like a trope
Yeah,
if you didn't believe it. And like
yeah,
macabre is definitely like a theme. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's a theme or a trope if it's not executed properly. And I think
yeah,
that's like what you're trying to say. And actually, to your point, and I doubt he'll hear this, so I don't mind saying it, but you know Bob Schneider, right?
yeah,
Okay, so it's my happy little thing. I'm the biggest Bob fan. Me and all my friends are. None of my friends listen to the type of music I do, but my girlfriends and I in Austin, we got Bob. So like everyone loves Bob.
yeah,
So I go to Bob Schneider like a lot of Mondays, like once or twice a month. I haven't been since early December. I stopped going like 3, 4 months ago because there were people in town. So it was like lots of tourists in, and he, which whatever, I love Bob Schneider more than anything, but I stopped going because this kind of pissed me off. Everyone at Saxon Pub every Monday night, palm
yeah,
of his hand, and has been for years. It's his thing. But he was like telling a joke, and Like everyone laughs at everything that he does, and he gets the response that he wants out of every joke and out of every little thing. He gets, he directs the crowd, he oohs ups, like he's funny, he's got jokes, he's got perfect delivery. But there's this one thing that I really didn't like, and it was like the whole time, it's kind of an exercise of him getting what he wants out of the crowd. And he
Yeah.
told a joke and everyone like laughed at it, but it wasn't as big of a laugh as he wanted.
Yeah.
So he sat there and was like, y'all didn't give me the laugh that I wanted. So he repeated it and he kept repeating it and he repeated it 3 to 4 times, going like, huh, huh,
Yeah.
huh.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like so manipulative and it kind of made me mad. And there were like lots of tourists in the town, so it was like kind of kitschy, you know? But he kept repeating himself until we, the crowd, gave him the response that he wanted
Yeah.
in this like weird egotistical kind of way.
Yeah.
And it kind of pissed me off. And I haven't been back since because I was like, that's kind of manipulative. I don't really like that,
Yeah.
So, anyways, it was just kind of this funny thing I noticed. So it's like there's a responsibility to like doing it properly,
Right.
and not, being a shithead about it. And I thought he was kind of being a shithead about it. I was like, okay, bro. So I haven't been back since.
Yeah, I feel like commanding is different than demanding, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, good quote. I like that for sure. Well, okay, and we're almost done. We're almost out of here. I hope you're not dying. Are you dead?
No, no, no. I do have to go soon, but not dead.
Great. Okay. Well, out of appreciation and love, I didn't have this in here. But what's your just appreciation for great lyrics? What's your favorite line of his or a couple that he has in some of his songs?
Ooh. Um, well, I mean, one is in the song that you mentioned earlier, and it's I've always been scared of loving someone just a little bit more than I'm loved.
Oh God, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
oh
then
yeah.
basically all of Another Man's Grave
Mm-hmm.
is incredible.
I think that's mine too. I think
Yeah.
I'm bad with shut up. Do we have the same favorite? I'm bad with song names, but I'm just so tired of waking up and nobody knows it. Is that Another Man's Grave?
Yes. Yeah.
Shut up. We have the same favorite song.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. The
That's
dancers are
hilarious.
dancing like ants,
Oh
desperate
yeah.
to, yeah.
To find their last minute queen
Yeah, their last minute queen.
and then oh God, yeah. And then we're all go home to try and find comfort in dreams.
Yeah.
Because
Because
this
this,
isn't life.
I know that I can't. Yeah.
And I know that I know it, whatever, but I'm just so tired of waking up and nobody knows. Actually, yeah, that's my,
Yeah.
so
That one.
yeah, I'm
That one.
sad a lot and like we all sleep when we're sad. So I think the line to go home and find comfort in dreams like breaks my fucking heart all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
And just like the concept of buried in another man's grave, but talking about yourself is just like,
I love that we got to revisit those lyrics because those are so beautiful and that's how you spend a lot of
yeah.
your time on the road. Okay, switch gears because you guys are so fun. I love drinking with y'all and y'all are really fun. So I know y'all party. What are a couple of like the best party nights ever? What's an inside tour joke? And what are a couple of your favorite bars on tour? And then you're out of here.
Oh, off the top of my head, I mean, bars, I'm sure there's so many. I really love Screwdriver in Seattle. That's one of our go-tos.
Cool.
I'm sure after this, I'm gonna be like, fuck, I didn't mention this one. But um, the inside joke, we just have so many inside jokes. It's like, I mean, jokes, games, we're big on green room games. We play this one game, Basket Bottle. Um, that's basically just trying to flip a water bottle to land on a surface flat, but we always pick like the worst, most destructive surfaces and we always clean it up. But it's I'm gonna let Danny tell you about the Glizzy coaster one day. I'm not gonna talk about that.
Okay. All right. Is that
Uh,
like flip cup with a liquor bottle?
with basket bottle?
Yeah. Is that
No,
like
it's
flip cup with
no,
like a
it's not.
bottle of liquor?
It's kind of like flip cup, but it's with a water bottle.
Okay,
We'll
gotcha.
put a cup. We'll put a cup on a like on a ledge or something,
Uh-huh.
and then we have to flip the water, and it has to flip in the air and then land in the cup.
Ah, okay.
But usually it ends up going
Very good.
poorly, and a lot of
Got it.
not tossed around. But we always clean up, and we're
Yeah.
always we don't break anything. So,
Yeah. That's
um,
fine.
one of my favorite games is slapping salami on Tally's head because of the sound it makes.
Yeah. That's
What?
great. That's funny.
Um, yeah, we have so many little dances, and I love touring with those boys. It's awesome.
That's
It's
awesome.
it's it's such a little family on the road that it really does feel like just running around with your little hooligan friends, you know?
Mm-hmm. For
We've done
sure.
a really good job building that world. Um, Obviously, in
Yeah.
terms of the fans and the crowd and the family that it's created outside of the touring camp, but especially within.
Yeah, for
It's a
sure.
real beautiful environment. Yeah.
Do you have one night that was like really life-changing for like someone you met or talked to or had a really good conversation with?
Um, I mean, yes, but for some reason, the only night I can think of right now is a funny story, not a life-changing one. It was at a festival we were playing, and we had just finished touring with Trampled by Turtles. And I think they had just been on tour with Zach Bryan. So, they were the only ones allowed up, like of almost everyone in the festival. They were one of the only ones, only the only bands allowed up side stage to watch. So they brought us with them because it was towards the end of the tour. And we got up there and we were watching Zach Bryan from kind of like, it was almost like behind. It was, I know people, you
Yeah.
don't watch from backstage, you watch from side stage, but we actually were kind of backstage,
Yeah.
just like watching over this ledge. And there was this older woman watching side stage, and she looked so proud of him. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's his mom. That's his mom." And I was kind of like tipsy, just feeling myself. And I was so proud of him too that I was just, I mean, just for the show that he put on, strictly. Like, I'm not a huge
Yeah.
fan one way or another. I don't really zero
Yeah.
opinion on that front, but it was just like it's watching a good show is watching a good show. It's powerful either way. And I saw the way she was looking at him, and I was like, "Oh, that's beautiful." So I kept like giving her thumbs up and like finger pointing when she like finger gunning when she would look. I'd be like, "He's so good," and she was just like, "Who are you?" And that went on for about 15, 20 minutes, and then the show ended, and we walked off stage, or yeah, we walked back down. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, can you believe Sheryl Crow was there?" And I was like, "Sheryl Crow was there?" And they were like, "You were pointing at her the whole time." And I was like, "That was Sheryl Crow." I was just sitting there giving her thumbs up.
And you're just like looking at her going,
I
yeah.
was like, "Yeah, good. Good for you."
Oh, that's hysterical. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good. I love it. Okay. So plans for the rest of the year. I know you're going on tours in May.
Anyway,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. So you've got tours, any other shows? What's going on the rest of the year?
So solo this year, I mean, this year is definitely a lot of Amigo again, but
Mm-hmm.
it's good because I'm focusing all of March I'm going to be writing and recording the rest of the full length,
Cool.
and hopefully this summer that comes out.
Are
So
you going to be opening the tour?
which one?
Well, I mean, Breaking Benjamin, they have Keith Wallen. Keith opens their acoustic
I mean,
tours.
I might try and ask Danny if I could do the fall one. I know Tally's
Yeah.
opening up the May tour, but I
You
might
know,
try and ask if I can get on the fall tour. But
yeah, you
as of
should be
now,
the opener. And
as
then,
of now, no expect zero expectations. I never expect. anything from him because he likes giving me the opportunity to build myself and not just
Yeah.
feel like I'm living in the shadow, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But but I'm definitely interested in doing that, especially if I put the record out in summer. That would be awesome, you know.
Yeah.
But for now, I have the May tour, and then I have two Muddy Roots dates for this
Cool.
year, which one of them it hasn't been announced yet, so we'll see. But
Ooh, shoulder, shoulder.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's
but
great.
I feel like next year is gonna be a big it's gonna be big in terms of finally balancing out, like evening out how much I do Amigo and Catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah, schedules, yay. Always a blast.